You are listening to the realestatepodcast.ca, brought to you by jandc Toronto Real Estate Group.
Hello and welcome back to the realestatepodcast.ca. John Paulson here with Cheryl and Nicole and Nicole Norton. We are your hosts and we make up the jandc Toronto Real Estate Group based in Toronto, Canada. The reason I'm saying that is, funnily enough, you were asking us about stats, who's been listening on what platforms. We actually had a Japanese listener on Spotify. So welcome to all of you.
Or maybe not a Japanese listener, maybe someone who's Canadian living in Japan.
We had someone listening from Japan. Let's just put it that way. So before we get into it, our disclaimer, and Nicole, you want to handle that today?
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entity that we represent.
Nice. Well done.
Thanks.
For any first-time listeners or folks watching on YouTube out there, the realestatepodcast.ca was started by the three of us as a way to hopefully bring some value and information to anyone and everyone who is interested in real estate. We call it real estate for the masses. We also say it's everything you ever wanted to know about real estate, but we're afraid to ask. And our goal has always been to educate and entertain. You say that a lot, Cheryl, right?
I do. I started that little saying, if you may call it that, when I was doing Insta stories, because I didn't want to come off too real estate-y and too wordy, but I also didn't want to be too silly. So I was like, how can I do both? I can entertain and I can educate at the same time.
A careful balance, I think, right?
And if you're being entertaining while educating, people are more likely to learn and listen.
Yes. They won't switch you off, because how many of us have had that teacher in school?
I was just thinking that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're not doing that to us, faithful listeners.
Japan.
Are we projecting?
Maybe.
Are you a faithful listener?
Speaking of entertainment, our topic for today is reality shows. And
Real estate reality shows.
that's right. Let's be clear. It is real estate reality shows. And, why are we doing this? Cheryl, why did we choose this as a topic? Not to put you on the spot.
I mean, I think that it's because I don't know about you two, but I've been asked by multiple of our clients and probably our friends as well, if we watch it, which is generally a no, and is it real? And that's what actually made me interested, especially Selling Sunset, because that's the one we get asked about the most. Maybe I should watch an episode or two just to see how real, kind of like the cruise ship Below Deck. People ask us that all the time. We've not watched Below Deck, but we're like, for sure it's probably real.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know if the drama was the same. A lot of people asked about the commissions and the houses and the process, which I find doesn't get covered too much in Selling Sunset. But we thought maybe it would be good for A, us to watch them all, and then B, have a fun podcast about it.
I know, because we've done a few heavier and really in-depth topics already. The one about multiple offers or bidding wars, that was pretty heavy.
And I'm sure we'll do more heavy ones.
And then also the one about becoming a realtor. That one turned out a little heavier than expected.
And it's funny. I was thinking about that episode.
Nicole was angry that day.
I call it the burrito episode. But if you think about them in conjunction, we went over how we don't even have time to live a normal life. And now we're talking about, reality shows. Have we watched them all? Well, listen to the burrito episode. We don't have time to brush our hair.
Are you watching them in the car when you're eating your burrito?
Right? So we're not regular watchers of said shows.
We don't have a lot
TVs.
of time.
TVs in general.
Yeah, we find that we're working usually in the evenings and in the mornings.
And in the
weekends. Well, with us saying that we don't really watch TV, what gives us the right, and how can we be authorities in...
We're not being authorities in TV shows. We're authorities maybe in real estate.
Yes.
We're giving our opinion.
But we're doing an episode on real estate reality shows. So I want to point out that we take this podcast seriously.
Yes.
And so over the past almost month,
we've been working hard.
We have been working hard watching reality TV
doing
shows.
Research, hard-hitting research on the ground.
For those of you not watching YouTube, the looks on their faces tells the story that they're both lying.
Right. Well, none of us watch the personality-based, sensational reality shows. I don't think that's any of our jam.
Have you ever watched The Bachelor, Survivor, Amazing Race, any of the originals?
How old? I watched the very first Survivor.
I did as
How
well.
old was it? 20 years
Yeah,
ago?
it was fantastic.
I was a kid.
It was more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So I watched one episode of that once.
Just one?
Yes.
I watched a couple seasons. You
Yeah,
watched a couple
we
seasons.
watched a couple seasons.
But that was literally before there
was-
was, I think reality shows now, they are what the airwaves are.
Right. Well, I want to talk about, those weren't really sensational reality shows. I'm talking about Kardashian.
They
I'm
got,
talking about,
no, they got sensational.
Real Housewives.
No.
Like things progressed and not
Yes.
necessarily in a good way.
Yeah, Survivor and The Bachelorette used to be normal folks aiming for whatever it was that they were doing. And now if you watch, I think, Survivor or The Bachelor or Bachelorette, that it is more like the Kardashian, the Housewives, like all of those selling Sunset. Yeah. It's selling a lifestyle, it's selling a look, it's letting us peek behind a curtain of not, and it's what they don't call them reality shows all the time. They call them like scripted or
Structured and unstructured. And we'll talk about that
Okay.
because there's Emmy categories for reality television.
Is The Hills structured or unstructured?
The Hills is, I don't know, I've never watched The Hills.
I've watched The Hills.
I think it's
okay, so I
unstructured.
lied. I
Anyway,
have Andrea Bell,
it
if
was
you're
a cartoon.
listening,
Right.
you're at fault for me watching The Hills.
Well, I just want to say that, we all did our research.
We did.
You ladies, I think, watched a few more episodes than I did. I dove more deeply into things like the showrunners, how long it's been on for.
You dove deeply into Wikipedia?
Yeah, I did. Wikipedia. Fantastic. Which is good. I want all of our listeners to know out there that I'm not like an expert or authority, even though I might sound like one. But I don't want people to mistake me for
You just
this
play one on
reality
TV.
show.
Hold on, you just play one on TV?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
So after watching a lot of, for example, Selling Sunset, Nicole,
Yes.
what are your thoughts? How did you feel after watching
Felt
them?
like my soul left my body and went away. I felt
But that could be positive, by the way.
like I felt sad.
Okay.
And I felt icky, right? Like, is that not a common thing? Like, I felt kind of gross. I
I
felt
don't think it is common or
like
people
I
wouldn't keep
needed a
watching.
shower. I felt, I have all these like pages of notes. And what was the
Which season were you watching?
one? I
And
watched
this is Selling Sunset, right?
Selling Sunset, whatever the final season was. I believe it's 5 or 6.
Yeah.
The most recent.
But you also watched one episode of season 1 with us.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I just found it hard to watch because it's the opposite of what we are, right? Like we talk about all the time, Cheryl talks about all the time, how we come from contribution and how our whole point of being here as realtors is to help people. And they make it no bones about it. Their whole point of real estate is making money. Like I have all these quotes. I want to do 100 million in this business and shut the F up. That's like literally a quote. Also boobs. It's selling boobs.
Right. Well, the reason I asked what your thoughts were and how did you feel, because you sent us a screen capture.
It's the best.
It looks like she's doing body shots.
She is doing body shots.
We were with clients too, and we get this picture
This
from
text.
Nicole.
Yeah.
It's from a broker's open house. They're doing body shots in dresses that aren't even dresses. They're like pieces
we
of
were
string.
supposed to wear.
I know, but it's raining today.
opportunity.
Your text also said, "It's brutal. I feel like my soul is being sucked from my body."
So
Yeah.
exactly what she just said.
Yeah.
It just made me sad.
Okay.
Do you want to know what all of us think of Selling Sunset before we move on, or?
Sure. What do you think?
No, I'm not totally dissimilar from Nicole, but I always came into this thinking that I've always disliked reality shows in general, so I had no interest in watching it at all. And after I watched that first episode, when I was first asked if I watched it and if it was real, I was like, "Blah." So it's similar to you. I'm like, this isn't real at all. Like the numbers they're putting up there, the way they act, the way they dress, how they work. Like we literally get up and start on I am not wearing high heels to work and then to showings. And like no way. Like I will wear high heels to certain events or to certain presentations.
To a body shop broker open
But
house.
on the broker open houses, and this is something we need to point out with all of the shows. Every state and every province has their own rules around real estate, and they're all can be quite different from one another. So how they run things in LA is going to be most likely very different than Toronto. Well, not most likely. We know it is because broker open houses seem to be a way that they get business where they're very rare here. And generally it also is an open to the public open house. And they double and triple end things all the time, and that's going to be illegal come December 1st.
Yeah,
so
it's
here.
different from state to state,
And
province to
BC,
province.
and BC, you can't do that at
Yeah,
all.
so multiple representation is what
Yeah.
you're talking about there. So yeah, conflicts of interest aplenty.
Yes,
Right,
which also
so-
is part of the ick.
Right. So your thoughts as well were like, the questions that we quite often get asked is it really like that? And we can say, not here.
There is a couple things where like, oh yeah, we do that, or that's real estate, but it was few and far between.
Yeah.
And it's not prioritized either. Like in a few of the episodes where they're talking about prices and rent, it's not, they don't delve into, so the cap rate would be this and this would be a good investment. They're essentially pushing it to the side Don't pay attention to this. Pay attention to boobs.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure we'll talk about buying Beverly Hills, which is also of the same sort of reality show genre. They do talk more about real estate, and they do talk
And
more
we're
about
going to
numbers.
get to each of these.
It's so entertaining.
Yeah, you and I have actually watched quite a few structured renovation shows, and we've kind of categorized the two different types of shows into personality-driven or renovation-driven.
Right.
But if you look at the Emmy categories, it is structured versus non-structured.
For reality
Non-structured being the sensational, Selling Sunset, Buying Beverly Hills, things like that. So, so we're going to talk a little bit about both during the podcast today, and I'm going to try so we don't go on major tangents.
So that Nicole and I are like,
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. You're always jumping ahead, but I like that. You're eager because I give you just the outline,
I know.
and then I go through the show notes just to make sure that we can cover everything and have a little bit of structure. So let's talk first. I'm going to go through some of the shows we're going to touch on. First of all, with regards to the reality, personality-based, which would be the unstructured, Selling Sunset, Buying Beverly Hills, the OG $1 Million Listing, which isn't actually even airing anymore. And then all of the spinoffs, because they've all had a ton of spinoffs. And we're not really going to touch on those. We'll touch on the big ones. Now, for renovation-based, or what would be known as structured reality television shows for real estate, and this, I think, where that meme comes into play that you've probably all seen. It's a photo of like a young couple, and it's like the lady says, "I'm a part-time vegetable carver." And the gentleman's like, and I'm a full-time dog walker. And our budget is $250,000. And let's see what we can do.
I think that there's more, the Canadian shows we watch, I feel, are more realistic. But there are some, I think. Also, again, different ones depending on the city. Like if I remember watching one in New Orleans and they were buying a house for like $100,000. I'm like, oh my God, you can't buy a parking spot for $100,000 here.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very different.
Yeah.
And also, you get an idea, even with the Canadian shows, how old it is by the price of the properties.
Yeah.
So with the renovation-based shows, Property Brothers is one of the biggest ones. Drew and Jonathan, they're great.
Yes.
We'll touch on those. Love It or List It, which is one of our favorite. We watch it all
Love
the
It
time.
or List It Vancouver, we watch.
Yes. Well, we have also watched the other original Love It or
I
List It.
don't
It's
like
just
it
not
as much.
good. Yeah.
I think
Where is the original?
it's in Toronto,
It
but
is.
also in North and South Carolina, I believe.
Well, their first episode was in North Carolina, but they've gone and done Toronto. They've done across the United States and in Toronto.
Yeah.
Extreme Makeover, Home Edition. I used to watch this on cruise ships all the time.
Is this the one with Move That Bus?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah. So then,
What was that guy's name?
Oh, I can't remember. House Hunters, and that's one that you watched.
Yes,
you said,
I have
years.
watched that with my.
We've got Flip or Flop. There's so many.
I like Chip and Joanna.
Yeah, that's Fixer Upper. Flip or Flop is Tarek and Christina.
Oh, yeah.
And
I forgot.
yeah, they're a little sensational in their own right. Then you got Good Bones, which is the mother-daughter team. Income Property, which is Scott McGilvery, and he's also got one called Scott's Vacation Rental.
Can we talk about that Scott has chosen us as their trusted agent?
Of course, yeah. About a year ago, they approached us and saw that we were doing a lot of business, saw that we had a lot of really good reviews, saw that we did a lot of social media content, things like this, and approached us to be in their trusted agent program. And he's a great guy, you know.
Ty Pennington.
Ty Pennington is the guy.
Move That Bus.
Thank you, Oracle. She was checking her phone.
All I did was put Move That Bus and it came up.
So let's talk about Selling Sunset. We've already talked a little bit about this show. Adam DeVello is the executive producer. He was also the executive producer
Adam DeVello.
of The Hills.
Oh.
So there you go. That's kind of maybe where he got his format.
Do they have the same feel? Boobs?
No, The Hills is Laguna Beach, which was high school. And then they followed the high schoolers after graduating. What did their life look like in LA?
Well, let's talk about Selling Sunset, which is the Oppenheimer brothers, or is it the Oppenheimer brothers?
Oppenheim, not even
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheim.
Oppenheimer.
It sounds like a neat dinner, right?
Oppenheimer.
Like turn it into an action word.
Exactly. I'm going to call them the Oppenheimers.
Like an
No,
Oppenheimer.
Just take the ER off.
There you go. The Oppenheim brothers. Jason is and has been a top performer, one of the top realtors, not just in Los Angeles, but in like top 10 in all the United States with regards to volume sold, dollar amount sold. He does a lot of luxury properties. They did a cover story in a Hollywood magazine on them. And that's when Adam DeVello saw it and he was like, this should be a TV show. So he approached them, and they'd actually been approached by quite a few different people saying, would you like to do a reality show that we could follow you all around? And they were always saying, no, thank you, not interested. But I think Adam DeVello tried to pitch it to them that it'd be more about real estate. Now, Jason Oppenheim said that in hindsight, and seeing what it has become and how it's really affected the lives of the people, it's more focused on people, he probably wouldn't have signed up for it because he thought it was going to be more on the nuance of real estate. We know that it's very little on the nuance of real estate.
I know that you said he's in it quite a bit in season 6 just because of the Chriselle stuff. But in the first season, they aren't really in it.
And we noted that, like, when they were in it and they're going through the office drama, that really the way it was edited was to show, it was the girls all being catty at their desks, which is not like how it is in here. And then those two guys just sitting on their computers, kind of like rolling eyes and working proper.
Yeah. I don't know, when you watch that, would you want one of those people to sell your home for you? Like, are you an expert in real estate, or are you really good at selling yourself or selling sex or
boobs?
Yeah, boobs, right?
If you want to know where to get your boobs done.
But it's what gets clicks, gets
absolutely.
views.
Very popular. People
Sex
love
sells, drama sells, people can sit on the couch. Like, this is also
celebrity sells.
Yeah, celebrity sells. It's like when we talk about someone who is, not fit, sitting on the couch eating popcorn, watching the Olympics and yelling at somebody like, why didn't you get a 10 on that? Like, it's that kind of idea, right?
Yeah. Celebrity sells. That's a good way to say it, because in that whatever season I watched, which I'm going to say is 6, they bring on that new girl who's having babies with Nick Cannon, and that sent me down a whole rabbit hole of research. Like, she had a baby with Nick Cannon, and then I found
everyone's had a baby,
exactly,
right?
at like the same time,
and every time you two mention something about one of the characters, I'm like, I'll tell you guys something about that character, and you guys ask where I learned. Like Entertainment Tonight, OBS.
Oh, that's right.
I get all my Selling Sunset information on Entertainment Tonight.
It's funny looking through Wikipedia, which with each one of these, especially the unstructured, and going through the cast. Many of them are former B-list actors, soap actors, models, Playboy models. So yeah, it is more about celebrity. It leads me to believe, is there a lot in the higher end luxury sales markets in a lot of these cities? You have a lot of former actors and celebrities that transition into real estate. I guess it's because they're in the social circles.
Yes,
because
they have a network.
Yeah, your sphere becomes your social network and who you do business with. And obviously, if they're very wealthy and celebrities, they're going to have multi-million dollar homes. So that's going to lead to larger compensation, larger commissions. But it's not necessarily realistic. Just like everything else, that the top 1% do about 90% of the business, or dollar volume anyway.
And in episode 1 that we watched, I think the threshold is very low in California, just given what was said on that episode, where one of I'm saying an actor. One of the girls said, to get my real estate license, all I did was take an Ativan for 2 weeks, and at the end, there you go, I had a real estate license.
That feels like something Christine would have said too.
Yes, that's the one.
It's all sensationalism. They want to have a lot of confrontation. One of the characters debated on suing the other. Let me go over my notes here, and I want to.
Who? On Selling Sunset?
Yeah, Selling Sunset.
I think it's Nicole trying to sue Chriselle.
So Nicole sued or tried to sue Chriselle.
Look at that. I know so much about these shows.
Right. So Chriselle accused Nicole of being on drugs, and so she tried to sue her. And
oh my God.
It didn't happen. She thought about it.
Communication, talk it through. Yeah. Okay, can I make a comment about Selling Sunset? It felt so fake. This is so set up to try to make the girls fight. This is all obviously to set up drama for the show, and it's also setting the tone of the show that women are catty and women fight a lot. And it made me feel like I didn't believe the fight. I didn't think it was a worthwhile topic to even cross, but obviously they had no subject matter, so they had to. Yeah. And you've always got to, in anything, make the protagonist and the antagonist, and
it can't all just be happy and great deals in this. It's not compelling television unless there's some adversity.
But buying Beverly Hills, I haven't found that there is as much of that. Yeah, there's been some fighting, but I feel like they were trying to, this is the first season, and they're trying to set a tone of almost like a movie or a TV show. Like, let's follow where the evil person goes and the good person, and does good outwin evil? And can we just see some real estate already?
Yeah.
Where in buying Beverly Hills, they do, then they're like, let's go see a house.
More real estate.
Yeah.
I just got a couple more things here for Selling Sunset, and then we'll pop over to Buying Beverly Hills. It's been quoted by the Oppenheim brothers saying that everyone is an exaggeration of who they really are. And that's, everything is... Editing has a big part of it. And you said that it's very, it's set up. These things are scripted. But even like the showing, some of it's not real. Some of it is definitely set up. Some of the showings are staged.
Yes.
And it's funny. One quote is when Christine Quinn said, "This bitch doesn't even cook," as she's going through a multi-million-dollar property. Yeah. And it went viral on TikTok. And she was asked about it later and said, well, the owner was not really a client. It was just a friend. So she, I guess, borrowed her friend's property to go show it. She had to confirm that she was not speaking derogatorily about this client.
That makes sense.
Right? So
if you're
this
just
bitch doesn't even cook, right?
Like if I would feel comfortable saying that about you, but I would never think of saying that about a client.
Yeah.
And you do cook.
I do cook.
Yeah. There was also another lady who is on the record for saying that I never even met them, even though they've shown her house. I told you about that. Yeah, well, I did a little research on that. She actually did hire Jason.
Okay.
And she thought it would be, she thought it would be a good thing to do with all the publicity for the show. And then she was actually away when the underlings went and showed the property. Next thing you know, she sees her property on the show and she's like, I've never even met these people. And the things that they were saying was not necessarily true with regards to the client. And the article that I read, the property was no longer under contract with the Oppenheim Group.
I wonder if Jason's kicking himself.
Who knows? And it was up for rent. So anyway, it didn't sell at the end of the day. So that's Selling Sunset. Moving on to then a more recent show, Buying Beverly Hills. It's Mauricio Umansky and his family.
I like him.
He's my type. I read a comment somewhere that someone's like, and he's hot.
And he's Mexican.
Is he Mexican? Wow.
I believe so.
Okay, interesting. So people might have been familiar with him because his wife is Kyle Richards. She's a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills.
Apparently they wear agency hats in the Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Okay.
They're currently separated, guys, as of September 30th, 2023. I looked up where he's from, and the first thing that came up is Mauricio Umansky says he and Kyle Richards are currently separated.
Interesting.
Oh.
Not really. Anyway. But I'm not interested.
Yes,
there might be
Mexico.
other people that are interested. It's been called Succession meets Selling Sunset because nepotism. What do you think?
Obviously, Alexia and Farah are Mauricio's children, and Farah works really hard, or at least this is the way that they...
She's more experienced, right?
Yeah, and she is always at her desk, always doing work. They make it look, in the way that they edit it, that she is a hustler.
Right.
And she's grinding.
She's a founding member.
And Alexia is like new, bubbly 22-year-old. And daddy's like, here, why don't you list a $6 million house of ours, like our old house? And everyone else in the office is like, that's weird. And they have realistic conversations. The conversations around the nepotism, it is, I feel like something we would all be like, really like Alexia, but kind of not fair. There's one scene where one of the characters, I think Ben, says, can you adopt me and give me $6 million listings to Mauricio's face? Okay. So it's, it deals with nepotism, but I feel like it's not it's not thrown in there to create the drama.
Okay.
And I'm not sure I think they're going to be on season 3, so I'm not sure where Alexia goes. And we all saw Alexia at a real estate conference that we went to last year.
Yeah, she was quite likable.
Yeah, I like her. I watch Buying Beverly Hills. I probably won't continue to watch it after we do this. Yeah. But I would say, I did not feel icky after watching it.
No, nor did I.
Okay.
I was
you preferred it?
There's more real estate. It's not realistic, but it is kind of realistic. And a lot of the conversations, not just about real estate, but life, feel like real conversations that could be had. There was some drama. Somebody said something behind someone's back, but it felt like realistic. And Alexia started crying. Actually, when she's like, so it's real.
Right.
And she talked to her dad about it, and her dad was like, it's really hard because I'm your dad, but I'm also your boss, and I want to be hard on you, but I also want to be sensitive to you. So, and that felt real. It wasn't like he wasn't egging her on or anything. So
got a little more heart.
Yeah, it does have a little bit more heart, I think. There's no heart in selling sunset.
No.
There's less boobs.
Okay.
Same
way less
temperature
boobs.
out, right?
Everyone looks a little normal. It's not overdone
The
up.
same temperature. It's the same city.
Right, see, that's just it. Like, could we do boobs in Toronto? No, it's cold. We'll freeze to death. That's not going to happen.
I don't think, I mean, maybe some of them have fake boobs, but it's not out loud. You know?
That's right. Their clothes are clothes, not pieces of string covering their nipples.
One of the things that he said, Mauricio, is the fact that all of his people, all of his agents, they've been together for quite some time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of history. They weren't just plucked and placed like some of the characters in Selling Sunset. And Joey and Alexia, they were middle school friends, which I think is kind of cool.
They talk about it in the show.
And, you know, if you look at, with the exception of Mauricio's wife being a real housewife and also a celebrity, there's only one other person that has a entertainment background, and that's Sanika. She was an American Idol finalist.
Oh, no way.
Did you know that?
She's immature, but I like her.
That's interesting. I got a couple other interesting tidbits. Someone's suing Netflix for $128 million because of buying Beverly Hills. If you go to Netflix and you look at, they may have changed it now, but the thumbnail image promoting buying Beverly Hills is this beautiful property. And it was actually a Shutterstock image, which is stock images that you can buy that I guess the producers of that show for Netflix used. And so they're suing Netflix because they've said that dozens of people have come by their property and knocked on the door and want to be near or in something that was on TV. And so they're suing for emotional distress.
Oh my God.
Did I not say suing culture?
Yeah, exactly. Loss of income because they say they work from home and they're so distressed.
They make a lot of money if going to the door a few times.
Can you imagine? Anyway, they didn't. I think it's kind of been thrown out as something that is a frivolous lawsuit.
Just start charging.
Well, they said they did say that it was never used with permission on Shutterstock.
Yeah.
So who's to blame? Is Netflix to blame to the tune of $128 million? I don't think
I guess
so.
a judge
Has
will
more
decide.
money than Shutterstock, maybe.
Something else about buying Beverly Hills is they tour houses, and although the price tags are much higher than what we are accustomed to, they're real houses. Like they take their buyers to go see stuff that's staged. They go to real broker open houses. They went through the staging process with Alexia on this listing, and I've just watched 3 episodes. You know, so I've already seen multiple. I saw like a $3 million house. I saw a $6 million teardown. I saw a $6 million staged home. I saw a $28 million house, which was beautiful.
That's great.
But they tour it and they talk about the staging. They talk about the coffered ceilings.
Real estate.
Yes.
So I think it would be geared towards more people that like properties, style, architecture, design.
I mean, not
And
as
with a
much.
little bit of, with not as much celebrity,
Yeah.
boobs.
Boobs.
Still
People
drama.
that don't like as much boobs. Or maybe they do, but they also like real estate.
I hope that with the popularity that buying Beverly Hills gets, that they don't turn into Selling Sunset, because you even see
Yes.
it within Selling Sunset. Like some of the characters, people, they get skinnier as each season goes by. They start doing more work because they see themselves and they're under a microscope, and that cannot be easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even us, from watching ourselves on the podcast, get haircuts more regularly
That's
now.
right.
When you see yourself on the camera talking, you're like, oh, geez, I have to
Brush your hair, Nicole.
cut my hair.
I wore a
Yeah,
shirt
or brush
that
my
had a
hair.
stain
Yeah.
on it. I actually wore a decent
Yeah,
shirt
so
today.
imagine what it's like to get that kind of attention.
Yeah,
Like,
can't be easy.
I'm sure it's
It's societal, you know.
The ones on certain shows, though, if they're aiming for celebrity, I'm sure that they want that. And then there's others who just kind of get pulled into it that I'm sure that it's, you know, it isn't what they want. Even their Instagrams, if I may talk about buying Beverly Hills, I went on the agency's Instagram and I went on Jason Oppenheim's. Even their Instagrams are so different. Like and Jason's stuff is like the just listed. It's a picture, but then like in massive big bubbly letters, just listed. And then everything is so much more like what we would do on the agency's website.
Okay.
So
featuring some properties and
it was like over the top and real estate mixed with some family, you know, a little bit less ostentatious. Like, so everything that their shows are, even their Instagrams, their personal Instagrams were reflecting
Reflective.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of makes sense. Let's move on to one of the OGs for reality shows for real estate.
I have not watched this. If you're going to talk about $1 Million Listing.
Yeah, so you've not watched it. Have you ever watched $1 Million Listing?
No.
You've watched it.
I've watched an episode here and there. It's been around since 2006, and
Yes.
the original one was $1 Million Listing in LA,
Oh, I thought.
and I think it may have been around the same time, you know, MTV Cribs. So people wanted to see inside these
People's
beautiful
homes.
homes.
Right.
From what I remember, it is a little bit
MTV
more
Cribs.
property focused. So it'd be like the properties
Yeah.
without the celebrity personalities. You wouldn't
That's a
know
way
who they
back.
are.
The
But
show
Chris,
should be called Multi-Million Dollar Listing now.
now, $1 million listing, that's most listings in Toronto if it's
Yeah.
freehold. So,
Yeah.
but hey, in 2006, it was a little bit different. The other reason that I know about $1 Million Listing is Ryan Serhant is kind of a real estate pillar in New York. He's well-known celebrity realtor. And he sells a lot of high-end 10, 20, $30 million apartments.
Condos.
And condos in New York. He also had a book called Sell It Like Serhant that I read.
Oh, yes.
I thought it was a good read.
Do you have it?
I do somewhere.
Can I borrow it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got a stack of books I
That's
can lend
fun.
you, Nicole.
You're reading again?
Yeah. You know how to read?
I've got glasses now, so I've gone back to the reading.
I'm kidding.
He was actually in Just Like That.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
so-
one of the characters in Just Like That is a realtor.
Is a realtor. So she's like, oh, hey, Ryan. And she actually slept with her client in one of the properties they were showing in And Just Like That. And Cheryl and I were like, oh, man, that just would not
Yeah,
happen.
I don't know if that actually happened. I'm sure it does or it has happened, but there's no gossip about it.
This is
No.
a tangent.
Yeah.
I've heard of it happening. Like not people that I knew, but I was reading articles about now that many of our clients, people have cameras in their homes.
Yeah.
They've been catching agents.
Having sex in their property.
Thank you for saying it. Yes.
It's terrible. All right, so that is our unstructured real estate reality shows. Now let's move on to the renovation-based or structured.
Yay.
This is our preference.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think this is all of our preferences because, well, we watch a lot of them. You've now started to watch.
Do you think you'll watch
Love
more?
It or List It. If you have time.
I mean, if I had TV to watch the show, John had to send me a link, which I watched on my computer.
Yeah, from the
have
HGTV website.
I mean, I physically have a TV. I don't have a TV subscription
You don't
service,
have
but maybe
Rogers?
I should get it.
Maybe.
Anyone listening want to buy Crave for Nicole? Because we have this conversation
Because
monthly.
she really needs to get to know Jonathan and Drew Scott of the Property Brothers.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're probably our favorites. Canadians, both of them.
Great.
One is a real estate expert. That's what he is quoted as being on their website and Wikipedia. And the other, they're twins, by the way. The other is a contractor, a licensed contractor. And so it's been around a long time.
They have different iterations of other shows. They have like lots of spin-offs of their shows.
Sure, and different kind of treatments, but it originally went to helping people buy fixer-uppers, working with their budgets, doing a lot of befores and afters, having a little bit of computer generation CAD stuff so you can see them redesigning, moving walls. And
Oh, I love when they do that
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
It's
really
fun,
great.
yeah.
I think one of the big things is the money shots in these properties, the renovation ones, are the befores and the afters.
I
People
would
love
say
them.
all of these are really based on before and after because they suck you in. This is what it looks like. You have to watch the whole show to find out what we did.
Yeah. And literally I will, if I'm running away to go to the washroom or something like that, I don't want to miss
Sucked
the end
in.
because I have to see
To go to the
what it
washroom.
looks
That's the
like
only
at the
place
very
you could be
end.
going.
You did mention in the last
Yes,
podcast
he
you spent
did.
a lot of time
It's
in
a
the
room
bathroom.
I spend a lot of time in. That's correct.
One of the things I like about the Property Brothers is how real both Jonathan and Drew seem. And their conversation, because they're twin brothers, seems like we're peeking behind the curtain and watching how they would really interact with one another. And I was telling him that I was watching a episode the other day. I got stuck when I was eating lunch. I turned it on and I had to watch the whole thing. At the end, and it was in Toronto, and he had a puppy to try to sort of, because there were two young children that were coming into the home. Like the parents renovated, the two young children, but you could tell like the sparkle in his eye. Like he was enjoying engaging with these kids and holding this puppy. And then that's when you said, because they're authentic.
Yeah,
They're
they're
being their real
likable.
selves. Yeah.
It's not the sensational
It doesn't
putting on a
feel
show,
scripted,
being
yeah.
acty.
I'm sure some of it is scripted.
Sure, yeah.
It has to be. And some of it, I'm sure they get the real reactions and then they get them to walk through again. You know, like, John, just one more take.
Of course. Yeah. Can you say this? Because I didn't really get that.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure some of it has to be that way, but it doesn't feel like that is the basis of it, the way that scripted shows are.
So sex sells and authenticity sells.
Yeah.
I think they sell to two different
Yes, sorry, and two different things.
demographics.
I would be interested to put that out there, actually. If because we have some clients, the clients who've asked us about selling Sunset and if it's real, who are addicted to it. Do you also watch renovation shows? And if you do you enjoy them?
Cheryl, do a story and a poll.
like that.
Property Brothers or Selling Sunset?
Oh,
and
that's
see.
actually really great.
Yeah, because they're two very
I'm
different
interested
on the
to know.
spectrum. Yeah, and then you can push our podcast that's going to be released in a few days.
Cool. I will put that on my million lists of things to do.
So, Love It or List It. You watched your very first episode yesterday. What are your thoughts?
I love it.
Or do you list it?
It was so
She would
good.
keep it.
It was so good. I liked the house, and I I watched one episode, as John said. So do I have much context for every show? But I found this one so exciting because they flipped the whole house, which is really hard to do. They flipped the whole floor,
house?
the whole floor
They
plan.
do that a lot.
Flip it around, moving kitchens to the
So
other
they put
side.
the kitchen
The
where the
house?
master bedroom used to be, and then the old kitchen became a mud room, and all this stuff. And then while they were doing it, they found animals in the attic. And that
They
cost.
always find things, by the way. That's just like, I feel
How
like
it
they
goes.
look for the house that's got the most
How
fun
it goes.
things to. And you don't have a budget to fix all this animal damage.
They didn't. So then they had to take out the basement part, which was a
Right.
huge part of the renovation. And then I was like,
So
these
you don't
guys
get
aren't going to
everything
like
you
it
want.
because it
You
wasn't.
never get anything.
But
everything.
then they loved it. And it was so
They
like.
loved it? I thought they listed it.
No, they loved it.
Oh.
It was so nail biting at the end because I was sure they were going to list it.
And this was Love It or List It Vancouver, which
Yes,
we prefer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was just telling her that Jillian used to be one of the bachelorettes.
Well, let me speak a little bit
Yes.
about the two. First of all, the original Love It or List It was actually a Toronto designer named Hilary Farr and a guy named David Vicentin, who's a Southern Ontario
David or
realtor.
Davis?
It's
Oh.
David. That was a typo in my notes, so stop reading my notes, Cheryl. Believe it was David. And their first episodes of Love It or List It were done in North Carolina or South Carolina, but they have done in Toronto as well. And then, so we've watched a few episodes of that,
Yeah, I
but
don't
we
find them as
prefer
interesting, yeah.
Love It or List It Vancouver. And I think it's because both of the characters the hosts, they're just really likable.
And they're funny. They have a really good chemistry.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so with Gillian Harris, you said that she's most well known for Bachelor
Bachelorette.
and then Bachelorette.
Yeah.
But prior to that, she was working in design.
Yeah.
And she worked at Caban. Remember that store? It was a design store. There was one on
do you
Queen
spell it?
West, Caban.
Oh,
It was great. It had furniture, lamps, accessories. It was kind of like Crate and Barrel, but a little bit more modern. And she also was a designer. She was hired by the owner of Cactus Club Cafe. So she designed a lot of the Cactus Club, or helped
Really?
to design a lot of the Cactus Club Cafe interiors. She was also on Extreme Makeover Home Edition. And then she became a contestant in The Bachelor and then The Bachelorette.
Caban was Club Monaco.
Oh, was it? Okay, so their
I do
furniture,
remember.
their furniture arm of Club Monaco. I had a lot of
Interesting.
stuff from Caban. It was
It
good stuff.
closed in 2000. Actually, I think all of our chopsticks, you know those black chopsticks?
they're from Caban.
Caban. Yeah.
And then we've got Todd.
Rainbow.
And everyone thinks Todd, he's just the boring realtor.
Realtor.
Did you know that Todd Talbot starred alongside Ryan Reynolds in the Canadian TV series Hillside from 91 to 93?
Interesting.
Yeah. So again, there's a little bit of celebrity
And
involved.
our reaction is like,
I know. I felt like he set it up great for us to be like, no way. We were both like,
Did you never watch Hillside?
No.
Do you know who Ryan Reynolds is?
yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
and you're asking Nicole this because
I
she's
know.
not a pop culture
That's right.
person
He must
at all.
be super famous.
Nicole was born in 1932.
Her
She lives
brain
there.
she does live in
She
32.
lives there.
So for those of you that maybe have not seen the concept for Love It or List It, we're just going to go through it really quick because it's our favorite. Basically, you have a family that is living in a home that no longer really suits their needs.
It sucks.
Yeah, there's things about it they don't like. They've lived there for a really long time, and they may have, something, a family member moving in or kids moving out. Anyway, something along those lines, and they usually have a healthy budget. And I want to talk about the budgets. And some of the misconceptions in a little bit. But the budget could be used to try to make their current home much more suitable. And so they go through with a wish list of things they would like to do to that home with the budget that they have. And that's handled with, in this case, the designer and Love It or List It Vancouver, that's Jillian. And so they sit down, she works with her contractor to try to make it so great that they're going to love it. But in the other side of the show is Todd. He's the realtor. He takes them around to get them a new property that will fit all of their needs, check all of their boxes. A lot of times it has to do with, he'll find a great house, but it won't be in their preferred area. It's further outside. And they'll show 3 or 4 properties. Usually
In
it's
roughly
3.
the same budget, right?
In
Like
roughly-
value plus improvements.
Similar.
No, it's not usually.
No? Oh, okay.
This is what our mortgage broker told her we can afford. This is what our budget is if we stay in this house and renovate.
Yeah.
And it's like, which one's going to win out? So they're almost like competing against
They
each
are
other
competing.
to win the family
And at
over.
the very end, they always usually have a glass of wine together.
Unless Jillian's pregnant.
Unless she's pregnant, correct. And depending on who wins. And the big reveal at the end is like, so are you going to love it or are you going to list it? And then basically if you list it, that means that you're selling the house and moving into the other one. And I always look at Todd's face, and whenever it's like, you're going to love it, I look at it, it's like, is he disappointed because he doesn't get the transaction? You know what I mean? As a realtor, and I think
two
no.
transactions, a buy and a sell.
We don't know if they get like what the transaction.
What their compensation.
Yeah, they might be
like
just
that.
paid as the host, and then whatever happens with real estate doesn't get filtered through them.
Great show though, and we've sat and watched like 4 or 5
Oh
or
my
6
god!
episodes.
I don't watch a lot of TV, and I can go down rabbit holes with Love It or
Because
List
we're
It.
interested in that.
But also because once you start at the beginning, you have to know
You have
how
to
it
see
ends.
And the befores and afters of
Property
their
Brothers,
original-
too.
It's what it's all about. And we do a lot of befores and afters ourselves. We do a lot of really great engagement on
And maybe
that.
that's why we are so interested in these TV shows.
Probably.
And also, this is a tangent, but the Vancouver one, and I've only watched one, so here I am talking like an authority, but I've only watched one. I found it really interesting. All the properties that I watched, differences in properties in different places, which is interesting to all of us. All the Vancouver houses had closets in the ensuite bathroom.
Interesting.
You guys see that? Maybe.
No, I think that you've only watched one episode, so maybe
All of it, no, you watched 3 properties that they were going to
That's
look
right.
at.
That's and they ended up doing a
that's-
walkthrough
maybe
to the
that's
bathroom.
specific to what they were looking for,
And
though,
that-
the type of house they were
Maybe
looking
just
for.
that area
Yeah.
or whatever it was. But I was like, that is so. You don't see that in Toronto very often unless it's.
Some of most Vancouver homes, and I think you can probably say this as well, don't have full furnace systems for heat. They have electric heat because they don't get as cold in the winter. I remember Corey telling me that.
It depends on where they are. If they're in the lower mainlands, if they're further north, then you get a lot of snow, and they will have
Makes
forced
sense.
Yeah, I remember one of my friends told me that they didn't have a furnace, and I was like, "Mon Dieu, what?"
Well, it's interesting to watch these renovation shows from all around North America and over in Europe because the heating
very
systems,
different.
construction types is
Ductless.
so different. You go down to Florida or California, there's like so few
basements.
in any of these properties, and different construction material styles. And I think when we talk a little bit about our takeaways and why people watch these shows in the first place, a lot of it has to do with people interested in style or construction. There's so many things that can be appealing in these different types of shows.
You just talked about style of houses, and this is sometimes what catches me because I can almost always recognize a Toronto house. And I'm like, I think this is Toronto. And I'll sit down and I'll wait for the sign that it's Toronto. Like yesterday I told you I saw that a Toronto garbage can. I was like, yep.
Is that a Toronto taxi going by out the window?
I know that place.
It does have a unique look, Toronto, especially to people
And
that
Vancouver as well,
go
though. You
through-
can watch it and know, like, if it's mountains. There's mountains in the background.
Well, the fact that the show is called Love It or List It
No, but
Vancouver.
I don't mean Love It or like Property Brothers
Property
as
Brothers,
an example,
exactly.
because they do it all over the
They
place
did Canada. We've actually leased a property.
for a client.
And the property was featured on Property Brothers.
And the owner was the realtor as well.
Yeah.
So she went through, and they didn't even do the full main floor, but they did the kitchen, living room, to the kids' rooms.
Yeah,
and
they
the
did a
bathroom.
nice job, actually.
Yeah.
It looked really great.
Yeah.
I want to talk about another
wolf
one that
range.
we've watched a few times, and it's almost borderline. It's structured, but it's a little bit more sensational. And I actually kind of like it because they are
fight a
there-
lot.
They're divorced now, so they used to
But
fight
that
a
was
heck
part
a
of
lot.
what,
made you
the
watch it.
bickering was.
And that is Flip or Flop. So I'm going to give you the history. There's Tarek El Moussa. He got his license when he was 21 years old in 2002 and met his wife who was working at the real estate office, Christina.
What was Christina doing at the real estate office?
I didn't say. I'm not sure if she was an admin or a licensed agent.
And now can we mention that Tarek is married to somebody on Selling Sunset who
Yes.
looks just like Christina.
But it's super incestuous.
Who was he
Skinny
married to?
Blonde
blonde.
girl. No, she wasn't skinny in the first season. She's very skinny now, though.
Right. This brings my point back to it being extremely incestuous.
Yeah.
All these people selling real estate and swapping wives. And
Heather.
maybe not that. Oh,
Heather.
Okay. And so during the 2008 economic downturn, they focused more on flipping houses because the real estate market wasn't doing great, which is kind of weird that they get into flipping houses because, a not great real estate market would affect how much money you're going to make.
Yes, but you can also get stuff at
You
a
can
lower
pick
price.
things up at you can pick up fire sales
Yeah.
from people that are really struggling.
Yeah.
And I like this show because it covered aspects of the business of flipping houses.
What is her new show called?
Oh, Christina on the Coast, and there's also Christina in the Country. So
I've
after
watched
they
a couple.
divorced,
Yeah.
she continued her reality TV career
They
in real
continued
estate.
Flip or Flop for a little while.
I know while they
believe.
were divorced, yeah, you could tell there was some tension
Yeah,
between them.
even though you could tell it was scripted, you could tell that they were biting each other's heads off. You could see it.
Yeah.
Which also is probably part of the reason
Why people watched
watch
it. It just goes to show how hard it is to work with your significant other, right, Cheryl?
Yes. What? I just said yes because you said right, Cheryl. But it's not hard. I don't find you that difficult to work with.
I'm a
go
difficult
inside.
person. I know.
I just go to a different office space.
I just leave. Okay, let's go through, because I had those 3 that we were going to talk about, but the list is long. There's a ton of the renovation or structured real estate reality shows. House Hunters usually is... I liked House Hunters International because it's people that were typically going to be moving to another country.
And then you get to see how the other
countries are.
Yeah.
Sure. So like you'd see a place, it's like, wow, it's all tiled floor. I'm like, well, that's kind of normal for Spain.
Yeah.
Right?
And so inexpensive compared to our market is often what many people have noted.
And a lot of times those house hunters don't have great big budgets. They're not selling a house that's going to, give them a lot of money. They're just looking for a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I wouldn't live there. That looks scary. It looks like mice live there. But they're like, no, my whole idea is I need this lifestyle change and I'm going to move to whatever country I'm moving to.
And with smaller budgets, it shows different kinds of properties. It's not all these, massive $1 million properties and with big budgets.
I think some of the ones that I watched, actually, the international ones, a realtor was very frustrated with the North American client because they were like, well, I need a big proper washer dryer and these things that are North Americanized. And they were like, I'm sorry, it just doesn't even exist. It's not a price point issue. Yeah. It's a culture issue.
Yeah. And I think they've also done some leases, if I'm not mistaken. They go through and they're looking at rental proproperties. It's not just all properties
they have.
for
You're
sale.
right.
So, which makes sense, especially if they're going to be moving.
Even movie
in.
stars do leases, John.
I know, they do.
Even athletes.
Professional athletes, and we represent quite a few of them.
Leases. There's anyway.
Yeah. So and Caribbean is another area that I found really interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, with proximity to the beach. I want to see the water. So I enjoy that show. Fixer Upper, Cheryl, you like Chip and Joanna Gaines. They're just really likable people. She's got a nice design.
Yes, for the fact that they're in Texas, right?
Yes.
They just redid, I just saw on Entertainment Tonight yesterday, they just redid some huge old 1929 building and made it a hotel. But I like that he's funny. She's like, they have a camaraderie between them. They joke a lot. Like
They're super down to earth.
Yeah, but
really
also cool. And I like
the
them.
antithesis of the cast of Selling Sunset.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. Good Bones is a mother and daughter. They, get houses that are in really rough shape, but have good bones, hence the title of the show. And finally, we've got Income Property. I found this one interesting. That's with Scott McGilvray, purchasing properties that would be good investments for his clients to look into renting the units out. And then he's got a new one now, which we've watched quite a few episodes of, called Scott's Vacation Rental. And it's properties that, the most recent one that I watched was a family cottage, multi-generational. Eventually the parents were going to be moving back to it, but it was tired. So he went through with his designer, Deborah, and they wanted to freshen it up, do some renovations. And so that if they weren't going to be spending a lot of time up there the full season, they could rent it out and help pay for, the whatever mortgage might be remaining, and or have it as a good income property.
Where is it set? Where?
All across Ontario. Yeah, he did a really cool one in Niagara Falls. He's done them up in
I think the majority
Muskoka.
are in Muskoka. Or at least the first season, all the ones I watched were cottage country, and I saw one in Peck as well.
It's going to be very interesting, though, with a lot of the Airbnb rules in certain municipalities. If he's going to be able to continue to do these types of...
For those reasons.
For short-term rental.
Yes.
At least with Income Property, he was doing more for, student rentals, long-term, at least a year.
The one that was based in Prince Edward County, I think Dawn was in it. I think that's why yes, Dawn was in it. Deb went in and talked to Dawn. And so that's
as a friend of yours, she's got a great pottery shop. Yeah.
Called the Yellow. Yeah. If you're in Prince Edward County in Picton on the main street, stop into the Yellow and buy some pottery and say hi to Dawn.
Now that we've gone through a wide variety of different programs, both structured and unstructured real estate reality shows, why do you think people watch? Let's start with the unstructured. The Selling Sunsets, the Buying Beverly Hills. What is the draw, ladies?
Well, it's like that you can't look, but you can't look away, right? It's addictive.
Train wreck?
Yeah, you don't feel well, but you're also like, God, I gotta know, like, what happens next?
Okay, I was going to say something to that because when we talk about the early days of the Real World and Survivor, and does anyone remember Temptation Island?
Well, I remember seeing the commercials.
I watched Temptation Island, and it was that. I would sit, I'm like, why are we watching this? This is the worst show ever. Maybe for escapism, maybe for voyeurism.
It's part of the human condition, right? Like, why do people gossip? You gossip about somebody, and you don't feel good about it after, and yet you still...
Want to see what happens?
Yeah.
So when I asked you why do people watch, I also wanted to talk about the takeaways because I think they're kind of one and the same. I have here that people are a little bit more into style and design than they used to. And for a lot of the renovation shows, I think that people, because of Instagram, they follow Pinterest, there's more awareness about the style and design aspect of renovations now.
I would agree with that.
Another takeaway I have is that there's many celebrities that have gone into real estate. Many wannabe celebrities.
B and C-list celebrities, if things don't work out.
Some of these shows show celebrities' homes or rich people's homes, which everybody wants to know what that looks like inside.
Goes all the way back to cribs.
We drive
I
down.
know, I can't believe you brought up cribs.
We drive down Mississauga Road and we are in awe of all these big, beautiful mansion-like houses. And now these shows are showing us what these mansion-like houses look like inside.
Absolutely. And these celebrities that are realtors have celebrity friends and clients who have these large, beautiful homes. So it's a way for, I think, us to be able to see inside behind the velvet curtain.
Because I imagine myself being in these houses. Like last night, there was a $138 million house. And I was like, what would I do if I had a nightclub at my house? If I had a vodka tasting room and I had a wine cellar, where would I spend more time?
House.
I don't know whose house it was. They didn't say whose house it was, but it was fabulous.
Nice. Crazy commissions.
Ugh.
Because a few of the shows, especially Selling Sunset, talk about, how much money they're going to make. And yes, if you sell a $30 million property, the commissions are going to be up there. It is for the top 1% of realtors that make these types of commissions. It's not for everyone, and for people that are asking us, is it really like that?
No,
it's not. It really is for the vast majority.
Misguided? No.
Misinformation?
What were the expenses on it?
What are their cuts?
Yeah.
What do they have to pay to the brokerage? They still are making good money, but they aren't showing the nuance behind that, which perpetuates. Thank you. The idea that realtors make too much money.
Yeah. Befores and afters, I think, are the money shots, especially for the structured. It's my favorite parts to see what these properties end up looking like. And I think that's another reason why people watch. It's a takeaway that I have.
It's a reason why, or it's a way to keep people engaged the entire show because they want to see how it ends.
At the very end.
It's who's the killer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's very similar to
It's motivational. It's the opposite of how you feel after Selling Sunset, where you feel ick. You feel like, wow, look what they did. Maybe I should think about doing something with my house. It looks so fabulous. You feel like happy after, as opposed to the soul sucked out.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that I have here that with Extreme Makeover, there was a lot of really lovely human stories that people were in very difficult situations.
I cried all the time with that show.
They were, difficult finances,
The 4 times I watched it.
health issues. And so Ty Pennington, thank you, Cheryl,
he was awesome,
would go and really help these people. They would get a lot of large sponsors that would help them make an amazing property out of what they currently had, or even build the one from scratch. Mm-hmm. So people watched that show because of the heartstrings. There was a lot of emotion. So would you ladies say that it's unrealistic? And I want to talk really quickly about how it's actually unrealistic in both Selling Sunset and Buying Beverly Hills in some cases, and as well in the Love It or List It, the structured ones, the renovation ones, because let's go to those ones. I think that the amount of money and time can be blown out of proportion either way, because for someone to have a $170,000 budget and to turn around all the things they want to do in a period of, say, 3 or 4 weeks is not easy to do for just anyone.
Are you asking us if that's unrealistic, or are you just saying this is why you think it's unrealistic?
This is why I think it's unrealistic.
I think that they need to put disclaimers that they have, because this can happen. It can happen in that timeline, but your contractor has to be 100%, paying attention to your
all
property.
The trades are set up already. They got everybody ready to go.
And that is not how it usually happens in real life, because that contractor is running their own business and they may have multiple projects on the go. So, there's days go by where you don't see anyone in the house. So I think that they need almost to say that this isn't the norm. It can happen this way.
Yeah. And problems you run into. There's always contingencies, which I think is one of the more realistic.
They show that.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you say this was worth 100 and they spent 50 and now the property is worth 180, that's actually not. That's where I find it most unrealistic, because this property was worth 100, they spent 50, but that 50 may have been spent on things that don't make that big a difference.
Sure.
Now the property's worth 130. Property's worth more, but it doesn't always equal or is more than the
Not
amount
all
that you put in.
renovations and dollars spent on a property are going to net you a positive return.
Yes.
And we talked about that in our last podcast, top 5 updates
Yes.
to increase the value of your home. I also just want to point out that while I may have seemed like I'm an expert because of all of my notes, it's not because I watch a lot of these shows. It's because I did a lot of research.
You did some good research, John.
Thank you.
Well, this is what John did. He said, ladies, we need to watch these shows.
Yeah.
And then we watched them and he
Yep.
just looked at Wikipedia.
I did.
But I found what you said interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm hoping our listeners and viewers
Thank you so much.
will find that interesting as
Yes.
well. And it's funny because Cheryl and I were having a chat and I said, I can't wait till we're just back into real estate topics for the realestatepodcast.ca that are things that we know about that we are authorities on.
This took a lot of research.
We are not authorities on this,
Yeah.
but the question was posed, is it realistic and do you watch it? And the answer overall was no, we don't watch it. We decided to dive in and to be able to say, generally speaking, as real as some of them are, they're not realistic. There
Right.
needs to be some explanation to where the nuance lies.
So the next time one of our clients asks us,
Selling
so
Sunset,
do you watch
huh?
Selling Sunset or any of the other shows? We can say, well, funnily enough, you should
We
go
have.
to realestatepodcast.ca and listen to our podcast about it. So, that's about it. Is there anything, ladies, that you'd like to add before we close this out?
Should we say our favorite and our least favorite?
Sure.
My favorite is Love It or List It, Vancouver. My least favorite is Selling Sunset.
Nicole, she's only watched a couple.
Those two.
I agree with Cheryl. I did enjoy watching
Buying Beverly Hills.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
always want to say Purchasing Beverly Hills, and I was
Okay.
about to say it there. If I had time to watch TV and I would maybe watch it.
I said I much enjoyed Buying Beverly Hills more than I did Selling Sunset, but I said to you, I'm like, I don't think I'll continue to watch it though.
Okay. No, I won't either. And for me, definitely Love It or List It Vancouver and least favorite. So that's my favorite. And least favorite would be Selling Sunset.
The reason why you're not going to watch Buying Beverly Hills or Selling Sunset is because you'll be busy watching all of the Star Wars for your 800th
That's
time.
true. We all have our things that we're drawn to.
That's what you watch?
Oh, I watch
Over
lots. Star
and
Wars.
over and over.
What do you do when
again.
that happens?
Watch him, and then he starts snoring when he's
No,
watching.
she
it.
works.
Yeah.
She works while I'm watching.
So there's
all
lots
the
of
Star
times where I
Wars.
have to kick him in bed, being like, "You're snoring. Turn that Star Wars off."
All right. So we hope you enjoyed our take on real estate reality shows. We know a lot of our clients and listeners love them. We find some of them entertaining. Some of them, not so much.
I would say they're all entertaining on some level. That's
Nice.
why they're popular.
And before we go, our featured local business. It's just down the street from us again, and that's Good Behavior.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. And it just had its first birthday, this location
This
here in the
location,
East
yeah.
End. It's a fantastic ice cream. They hand make their really creamy custard-based ice cream.
Ice cream and
And oh my God, they have the most unreal submarine sandwiches. Like unreal. Their meatball one is next level.
want
It's
one right now.
run and owned and operated by Michael Lamb and Eric Chow. They both worked at top restaurants in Toronto, including Buca, Ascari, Biblos, and the Civic at the Broadview Hotel. So if you want to check them out and you're in the West End, go to 342 Westmoreland Ave. And if you're in our neighborhood, Leslieville, pop by to 1324A Gerrard Street East. And don't forget to support local. So thanks again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. For all of our podcasts, head over to therealestatepodcast.ca. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on socials at JNC Toronto Group. Okay, bye.
Okay, goodbye.
bye.
You have been listening to therealestatepodcast.ca. Visit our website for more episodes and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at JNC Toronto Group.